Now we're going to make this image here today. I love roses. This image starts out as a color image. We're going to convert it to black and white, add some impression filter to it inside of Topaz Studio 2. Do some things in Photoshop as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this image today, and you're going to learn a lot. So without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we're starting out here in Photoshop, and I went ahead and duplicated the background layer and called it TS2 for Topaz Studio 2. Now let's go ahead and launch Topaz Studio 2, and we will get started. The first thing I want to do is convert this to a black and white image. So we're going to come up here to add filter and click on the black and white filter here. And you just have all these different colors here that you can adjust the luminance values on. So I'm just going to go through each color and adjust it accordingly to where I think it looks right. Okay, and I'll just go through each one of the colors and see what we come up with. See the greens. What do I want to do with the greens? I think right there looks good. There's no aqua blue. There might be a little bit of purple in here. Here's a little bit of purple. I'm just going to lighten up the purples a little bit. And how about the magenta? Magenta's pretty good right where it was actually. And we also have gray, which is kind of nice, so we can adjust the grays a little bit. And I think right about there. And we also have a brightness adjustment. If we wanted to lighten it up a little bit more, we could do that. And I might just give it just a slight amount of brightness, not too much. And I think right around there. And we can also pump up the details if we wanted to here. But I think I'm happy. I'm just going to double click details and leave it where it is. And we can suppress artifacts. But I don't see any artifacts. And we can adjust the color sensitivity here as well. But I think it's good, so I'm just going to leave it right at 0. So that's the first step. The next filter I'm going to use is a filter called the quad tone filter, which is found right here. And what it does is basically gives you 4 different tones here, blacks, shadows, highlights, and whites. And you can alter these tones. Now right now you don't see any effect here, but watch when I pull the strength up. These colors here will be represented in the different tones as I pull this strength up here. You see that? That's pretty cool, right? Now, I'm not saying that I like that tone scheme that it gave me, but I can change these. There's a drop-down menu in all of these here. So I think I'm going to go more towards blue on everything. So the shadow I think is good right where it is. I'm going to go to highlights now and click on the drop-down menu. And let's find a highlight color that we like. Maybe some kind of a bluish tone here, somewhere around there maybe. And now let's go with the whites. And let's go with another bluish tone for the whites. Okay. See, something like that. And now we can go ahead and alter the strength here if we wanted more blue or less blue in there. And I just want a bit of a blue tint in there. But I love it. But here's all the representations of the color. So here's the black, and here's the shadows, has this bluish tone, and then the highlight and the whites. And I think that looks pretty cool. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to go ahead and accept this and send this right back into Photoshop. I just noticed a little problem with this image right here, right down here. I want to fix this and right here. So what I'm going to do is just get a blank layer. Put a blank pixel layer there and get my healing brush. The shortcut is J, just in case you're interested. And I'm just going to fix that just like so. Just paint over that with the healing brush in this area right here. And when you do that, make sure that you have sample all layers checked. Because I'm painting on a blank pixel layer. It's a non-destructive workflow, and I just think it makes sense to do it that way. And then I'm just going to right-click on this layer here and click Merge Down, because I'm happy with it, so I can merge these 2 layers together. And now I'm going to duplicate this layer, and let's call it Painterly, because I'm going to be sending it back into Topaz Studio 2 and run the impression filter on it. So I'll just go ahead and launch Topaz Studio 2 again. Now I could have added the impression filter on it when it was in there when I did the black and white conversion, but I just didn't want to do it that way. I wanted to have a separate layer in Photoshop for that. You don't have to do it that way, but that's just the way I chose to do it today. If you watched my last video, I was working with looks inside of Topaz Studio 2, so I'm going to work with a look again today. So I'm going to go to Add Look, and I'm in the category Artistic. That's the category I want to be in. But if you click on this drop-down menu here, you have all these different categories here, right? And the Artistic category is right here. That's the one I want to be in. And I'm just going to look through these and find one that I like, because this really helps you. It inspires you to find a look maybe that you're not used to, and it might spark some creative juices in you, okay? And let me see here. I'm going to try this guy right here, Pellet Knife and Oil 1. Okay, and that looks kind of interesting. Now, to me, it's way too strong for this nice, delicate, soft rose, but what would happen if I would take the amount and pull the amount back? You know, something like that. That looks pretty cool. Let's try this other one here. Pellet Knife and Oil 2. No, I think I like Pellet Knife and Oil 1 the best. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one. I'm going to leave the amount the whole way up to 100. I'm going to click Apply. Because now when I click on the impression filter here, I can take this opacity and I'll just ease it back here. I'm just going to ease it back, I think right around there. Now I'm going to go ahead and alter some things in here. The first thing I want to do is come the whole way down to where it says texture, and I want to take the background type. And if you watch my videos in the past, you know a lot of times I'll move this over to original, because you see this little mark right here. Watch, I think that'll go away when I click original. Yeah, and it does. What happens, it shows some of the canvas through in the background, like you would have on a painting. And that, if you leave it to original, it just lets the original paint or the original colors of the image show through. And that looks cool. Now, I like the strokes here. It's kind of subtle, but it's very romantic in my opinion. I think it looks really nice. I like it. What I might do is just see where the spill is set for this image right here. And yeah, the spill is up to a 0.07. I'm going to like pull it to the left and see if I can get rid of some of this spill out over the edges here. Let's try that. Let's move this to the left. Yeah, that's helping that. I'm going to keep coming back. Yeah, I'm going to take it the whole way off, I think, to a -1 right there. And that looks pretty cool. Let's zoom into the image here. What I may want to do, and that's really pretty, right? What I might want to do is come down to the texture here. Now you can see they've added a texture here, and they've added this canvas 5. It looks good. I'm just going to keep it. And they have a texture size here. You can change the size of the texture. I'm just going to leave everything where it is, but I'm going to take the texture strength and just bump it up. Because remember, I pulled the opacity back. So now I just want that texture to show through a little bit more. So I'm going to bump that up a little bit. I think right there is pretty nice. I like it. I'm really happy with it. And the only other thing I might want to do is pull out a little extra detail on these leaves of the rose right here. And maybe some parts of the rose I might want to pull some detail out. So let's go ahead and add a precision detail filter. I love this filter. I'm sure every time I use Topaz Studio 2, I'm sure you've probably seen me use this filter. But I'm going to work with the overall today only. Let's pull up the small detail. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. Now, I'm not worried about the whole image. Again, I'm only worried about this rose right here. So let me just pull down. Let's look at the rose. So I just want to bring out some detail like on these leaves right here, and maybe some of this area up in here, and maybe a little bit over here as well. But there's small detail. Let's try a little bit of medium detail. Yeah, just a little bit of medium. Okay. And the large detail, what happens if I move to the right? Kind of darkens this area up in here a little bit, which is kind of nice. Might just back it off a little bit right there. Now let's zoom back out. Now again, I don't like it everywhere. Let's click the eye here so we can see here's the before and here's the after. Okay, so let's come and click on the layer mask, and let's invert this layer mask. And let's get a brush, and let's paint with white paint. So take this transparency slider, drag it the whole way to the right. I'm going to get my brush and my softness. I'm going to take my softness down a little bit, and the radius, I think right there is good. I'm going to shut the edge of wear off so I can have some nice smooth transitions in here. First off, I want to get this leaf right here. And see how that just brings out a little bit of detail there. And now I may take this transparency and drag it back more to a gray tone. And I just want to add some detail up in this beautiful part of the flower right up in here. See that? It just shines out nicely. And maybe a little bit in here on the flower. And maybe a little bit on this edge right here. That might be too much there, so let me drag this more into the darker tones of gray and paint over that again. Yeah, ease that off a little bit. And you can see the mask here. It has various shades from white down through grays. And that's how you adjust the mask when you want to bring out certain amounts, more detail in certain areas and less in others. But that's all I want. So let's click this eye. Let's see that here's the before and here's the after. But see how your eye is drawn in here? That's nice. And I might just, let's go back to precision detail. I might just pull the opacity back just a little bit. I want to make sure I didn't go too strong. I'm going to take it back to a 90. Now let's take a look at the before and the after. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that looks really cool. And that's all I want to do here, so I'm going to click accept and send this right back into Photoshop. We're almost done. I just want to darken the edges here with a little bit of a vignette, but I want to keep away from this light area here because I think it's beautiful. I don't want to mess with that. So I have a lasso tool, and I'm just going to lasso like so, an organic shape like this around the edge, and I'm just going to stay away from that white spot. And you'll see that right there. Next, come to your adjustment layers and get a curves adjustment layer. And when you do that, that lassoed area adds a layer mask to this. But it's the opposite of what I want. Because watch, I'm going to pull down on the curve. Now you'll notice the center of the image is getting darker, but I want the outer edges to get darker. So what I need to do is invert the layer mask. And I'll use a shortcut, Command or Control I. It just inverts that layer mask. And then come up to the properties here and make sure you're on masks. This little icon is checked. And take this feather and move it to the right. And you'll notice it'll start to feather that edge there. And just keep moving it till it looks natural for you. And I'm thinking maybe around 160 pixels looks really good. And look, that just adds a nice little darkening to the edge. I don't want it to look real pronounced. Let's click this eye. Here's the before and here's the after. Okay, and if I went too far, I could take this opacity and pull it back. Or if I needed it to be darker, I could click on the actual curve itself and pull it down more this way if I wanted to. So I have different ways of adjusting it. But I think right there looks really good. So let's click this eye one more time. Here's the before and here's the after. And I am really happy with that. Now let's see where we've come from. We started out right here. And it was already a pre-processed image, and I like this image right here. The only thing I probably would fix is this little bit of pink down here. It's a little bit light. I'd fix that. But other than that, I love this image. But now we have this new look to an old image, and I love it. It's a painterly image of this beautiful romantic rose, and I'm really happy with it. Stop the presses, I'm not happy. I just noticed this here. I was studying this image a little bit, and this dark area right here, it's kind of bugging me. And I know somebody out there is going to say, Dave, you should have got rid of that. And you are 100% right. So I'm heeding what you are telling me, okay? And so what I'm going to do is add another blank layer and make sure I have my healing brush, and I do. And I'm just going to, on this blank pixel layer, paint this spot out of here. I'm just going to do it a little bit at a time, clean it up. And just like so. Yeah, right like that. Yeah, I think that looks much better. Just hit it a few times. Now it just looks like there's a nice shadow on there. But if I even want to lighten that up a little bit more, let's just go ahead and add a curves adjustment layer above there. And let's just pull up on the curve. Lighten that area up. Maybe somewhere to right around there. Now I know the whole image is getting light, so we're going to invert this layer mask. And that's just going to turn it black. And now I'm just going to get a brush. Now I have a 100% opacity with the flow of 20%. So I'm just going to slowly build, and I'm painting with white paint on a black mask. I'm going to slowly build this area up in here. Like so. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller when I get out to these edges. And I have a nice soft brush on here. Yeah, just in case I want to lighten that up a little bit. Like so, maybe right in there. Okay. And if I went too far, I could take this opacity and let's pull it the whole way off, and let's just build it up slowly. Let's get a nice natural looking shadow right in there. I think right there. Well, there it is. I hope you enjoyed this one today. I had a lot of fun making this image today. I love roses, and I thought the black and white interpretation with that little bit of quad toning would really add some nice little zing to this image, if that's a good word. And then I added that little bit of impression painterly to it, and I'm really happy with the way this one turned out. Hey, if you enjoyed this tutorial today, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe and click that bell notification icon. Then every time I upload a new tutorial, you will be notified about it.